Hello and welcome to Sage's Tabletop Table Talks. I'm Sage. I don't have a tabletop this time, but I do have Fox with me, and we are going.
There's one like over here. It's a foldable table.
Wow. Yeah.
And a cat.
And a cat. And a cat.
And a cat.
Anyway, so I guess I was going. So I try to alternate. If I'm gonna do like an incredibly negative video, I try to do a positive video afterwards. And last episode was kind of negative. So
nice.
let's talk about doing like lore building, world building. So like just some techniques when we're designing like campaigns or anything like that. Kind of how we build the lore and stuff of the world. So like one of the things, so my game I have like various nations, 12 major superpowers, and they're keyed to each of the 12 races I have in my game, but like they're not, most of them are not mono-racial. Like the quote-unquote human nation isn't exclusively human, it's just it was founded by humans. But
mine are still incredibly jingoist in that sense.
But like, so I look at, I'm like, okay, human nation. I reverse build. I'm like, what traits do I want this nation to have? Okay, I want it to like feel extremely capitalist and democratic. So I'm like, okay, what would that look like? I'm like, well, if elections are based on capitalist concepts of free market, it's probably extremely plutocratic.
Is that the merchants running
yes,
everything?
The wealthy runs the government.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, what's that going to look like? Well, if they're doing that, they probably institute a thing where you pay for votes. So let's say you would spend $1 to vote. So you could spend $1 and vote, but then people who are incredibly wealthy could buy more votes.
Woo, oligarchy.
Yep. So it's a plutocratic, so it turned into a plutocratic oligarchy. So I kind of just, when I build my nations, do that. I'm like, okay, well, I want the elf nation to be very monarchical. Because I feel like if there's any race, the high elves, any race that's going to look like a traditional European nation, it would be high elves.
My Avalonian elves in my universe are, I based them off Rome.
Mm-hmm.
So they're kind of Roman.
Mine are a little, mine are very like English and Spanish, like where there's like a monarchy and then like lordships and a oppressed lower class. I'm just gonna tell you this: in my world, there's no good nation. None of the nations.
Yeah, I always felt that was kind of nonsense. Basically, there is good and bad with everything.
Yes. Like the human nation has very free markets. If you can find a way to exploit a loophole in the market, you can go from zero to hero easily. That's not really the case with a nation that would have something like a monarchical standpoint. Right. Getting into a noble class would require more than just finding a way to scam a lot of money off people, make money, or the only two nations I have that are actually very mono-racial are the Chaosei, and that's just because they're my cat people. I wanted that nation to just be very xenophobic, because I feel like having this kind of closed-off nation creates a lot of roleplay opportunity, because it's like, man, these people act weird, they don't let outsiders in, so if you get a chance to play a game where you're an outsider going in, you could play into that culture shock element.
And they're like a warrior culture. Right?
Yes.
So that makes sense. The xenophobia makes sense.
And the other one are the Kaith, which are minor elemental spirits. And they are nomadic. I was going to use a word that we don't use anymore. They have some Roma influence on them. And no, they don't steal babies or cheat you out of money. But they run in small nomadic bands. And a lot of people, they're just not a lot of outsiders because they are physiologically very different. Because like they're elemental spirits, so they don't eat, they don't. So they don't grow food because they don't eat the way that the others eat. They kind of just draw in the natural, like, magical energy, the mana of the world, and I kind of consume that. So, like, if you're there, you kind of have to kind of fend for yourself when it comes to food. But yeah, that's kind of one of the things I do is like I build. I'm like, okay, I want the nation to have certain traits. How would those traits have evolved, and how would those traits alter kind of where I already had it? Because the human nation was built very much to model America, but as I kind of played with these concepts of like a free market and a democracy, I realized how easy it would be for it to just suddenly become this plutocratic oligarchy because the human nation don't have like a constitution and um the checks and balances I didn't put into place as strongly as they are in America. It's like, oh yeah, no, merchants would absolutely take over a true free market.
Instead, it kind of turned into ancient Phoenicia.
Yes.
Which works.
Yep.
It worked for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the more I play with them, like, oh no, this is Carthage. My nation is absolutely Carthage. But that's like when I do nation building, but
Now, on the smaller scale, after you're done nation building, you go into their individual cultures. You can make like tiny little things.
Oh, absolutely.
Like that. It's centered around this stupid game that they hate and all this other stuff. Or yeah.
Well, one of the things, because they're a warrior culture I have with the Chaosei Nation is actually considered a dire insult to appear somewhere without a visible weapon. Because if you appear somewhere without a visible weapon, so the nation is built, it's actually built like a clock. There's like a center nation and then 12 city-states arranged like a clock face. And the territory they're in is hostile. There's just, on sides, there's a smaller nation of Oni, one of orcs, one of hill giants. So they're constantly battling these outside forces that are pushing in on them. So they just have developed a thing where everyone's a fighter because at any time anyone could have to be called to combat.
I mean, I could see in a warrior culture if you showed up unarmed, it's like you're telling them that you're not a threat to me.
Exactly.
So that's an insult.
It's either I don't consider you worthy enough to have to be armed, or a deception of if I have a weapon, I'm hiding it from you, which in a honor-bound warrior culture, kind of Klingonish, would be, oh, the idea of using like sucker tactics and poisons is considered a extreme social faux pas. So
yeah.
It would be like, okay, you're going to see the king. Okay, I got to put my weapons away. Do not put your weapons away, or not. They wouldn't be kings in this. The head of each temple.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to go see the Grandmaster of the temple. Okay, so here's my weapons. Like, do not surrender your weapons. That is a dire insult to his personal. Whereas, in elven nation or a human nation, if you're going to see a government official, it would be pretty expected of you to surrender a weapon. But yeah, anyway, so yeah, there we go. And as far as designing campaigns, so I'll put this to you because I really like it. What was your inspiration for the one you want to run for us, The Day the Music Died? Like, where did that inspiration come from?
I was just wanting to try to come up with something different. Don McLean's American Pie was running. At the time, I was like, these are a lot of lists of events happening. I wonder if I can turn it into a actual campaign. And then, bit by bit, I put more music references in, and now I've developed this campaign waiting for you guys, where it's jam-packed of musical references, and as a whole plot that's mostly American Pie, but not all American Pie, and It's like it had a slight comedy air to it, but I've been taking it more seriously the more I write it. And I think it's going to be a good time once we actually get started with that. But
And the secret is that song American Pie is still playing to this day. That song takes 7 years to fucking finish.
there's a lot of content.
Yeah, it is a long song. It feels long. Um for me, one of my big inspirations in my design campaigns is I see utopias in fiction, and I always am like, I want to just tear this utopia down. I don't like the idea of utopias in fiction because no one would have. There's no universal utopia. Whatever your utopia is going to be someone's hell.
Right. I'm not vindictive to want to destroy Utopia. I just don't believe that they will work. That I feel like you might have one temporarily, but it's going to shatter, and that's just going to happen on its own.
That's kind of where I'm at too. When I say I want to destroy, it's like if I see utopia, my idea is I always want to like corrupt or twist it because, like I said, the thing about utopias are your utopia is going to be someone else's hell.
Your Utopia is probably built on the backs of someone.
And not only that, just what you think a perfect society looks like is going to be miserable. I mean, you can just look at two major argument points in American society right now. These are two extremes, but a lot of people want to see a pure capitalist society, and to some people, a capitalist society would be a pure capitalist society would be a utopia. But it would be absolute hell for some people, and the same is true of communism. To a lot of people in America, communism is like a true communist society that works the way communism is intended to would be a utopia, but then to some people it would be an absolute nightmare because people's values and desires and wants aren't the same from person to person. So a utopia is just impossible to have. You cannot build a true utopia because someone is going to not like certain elements of your utopia. And I like that conflict. This idea that this utopia, someone's utopia, is twisted because, yeah, it's what they want, but that's just what they want to seem perfect. And in order to make the people who don't want what they want, you've got two options, which is oppression or brainwashing.
And the best deals are made from compromise.
Yep.
And what we need is a little bit country and a little bit rock and roll.
No country. We don't need any country.
I was just quoting a song.
I know, and that was making and that whole thing about the whole utopia. My utopia would have no country music in it, but I know a lot of people would not, especially in the area we live, would not like that very much.
And I don't think country's that bad.
There's a couple of good country songs, but
yeah.
About the only type of music I would listen to less than country is EDM.
I mean, that's barely music.
Exactly.
With, but yeah. Anyway, we got derailed. Several people died.
I mean, it happens.
So
this is why we need better regulations on our train industry, because that way.
And speaking of regulations to the train industry, back to world building.
Yes. Everyone get on the plot train. Choo choo choo.
Or the literal train if your world you're building has that sort of thing.
You know, something I always cannot, that truly bothers me is this idea that, this is kind of a lore building. Why is it that medieval fantasy worlds have incredibly complicated crossbows, but there's this idea that guns are completely out of line? Like, yes, there were crossbows that came about before the firearms, but these were giant monstrosities that really didn't work particularly well.
Right.
Specifically, I'd be talking about the Gastafides. But most crossbows you see in fantasy are closer to a arbalist.
Yes.
Which The Arbalist is actually more advanced than basic guns. The basic gun came out before the modern Arbalist, more modern Arbalist. So, no, let me have guns in your fantasy game.
Again, going back to my World Avalon,
Uh-huh.
there are guns, or at least early guns, that were
like black powder.
That are used by the dwarves and gnomes. The gnomes invented them. Because I have gnomes being the tinkerer race.
So my gnomish nation is a technocratic nation.
Yeah, there you go.
It is run by colleges. Basically, every college, which would be specialized schools, one for history, one for medicine, one for arcana, have a representative that sits on a council and rules the nation. And one of the things I found, because I was like, okay, so it's technocratic, everyone is an engineer. It's like, okay, what are you? I'm a sanitation engineer. So a janitor. Except in that it is entirely, no, you are a sanitation engineer. You're a janitor because you are one of the best at cleaning. You have figured out all the tricks to cleaning. You know the right chemicals to use in the right balance, the most efficient way, because you have scientifically figured out the best way to clean.
That is very similar to the Society of My Little Pony.
Gnomes are ponies, it's canon now.
But they're magically enforced in that universe. Is that you're the best at this? That's what your cutie mark says.
This is just like, no, you're not a janitor. You are a sanitation engineer. You are not a fast food fry cook. You are a you would be a fry cook. You specialize in using a deep fryer to make food for people. This is an important job, and you have to be good at it in order to...
It's like, you're not a janitor. You're the best damn janitor.
Because, people joke like, oh, sanitation worker, just a trash man. And it's usually like people, especially who have like those kind of jobs, like sanitation and
it's like, but screw you, who made you the boss of what jobs are good?
Yeah, exactly. Fuck. I'm gonna tell you this right now. I have a lot of respect for people who do like janitorial work and trash collecting.
The stuff that people don't want to do, this guy's doing.
Yeah, I don't want to do that job, and these people are doing it. I have nothing but respect. In my office, like the office where I work, I always have nothing but like respect. I go out of my way to make sure that their jobs are as easy as possible because they have kind of a shitty job. Honestly, they're fucking underpaid for their job. So yeah, do not look down on somebody who's actually working because those jobs need to be done. And if they're putting forward effort to do their jobs, don't look down on them.
Honestly, it's a jerk move.
It is.
It is absolutely a mean thing to think that any job is beneath you.
That's also why I really don't like the insult of just put the fries in the bag. Like, fuck you. I go to fast food restaurants and, them people fucking work hard for almost no pay.
They have more experience at doing that than you. They probably know what they're doing.
Yeah. Do not insult fast food workers because they actually serve an important purpose in our society. Like, just fuck you. Don't.
How about you try putting the fries in the bag? See how easy or hard it is.
Yeah. But anyway, back to the lore building.
In a way, we're still on the lore building.
That is true. We are still on lore building.
In a weird way.
But so yeah, that like I said, that's kind of do. And when I kind of decide, okay, this is what the nation looks like now, I do my thing is when I build history, I try to reverse engineer the history. What led up to this particular thing?
It makes sense to step back. Okay, yeah.
Because in modern times, we have the luxury that we started at zero and worked our way forward, but I feel like that's just an unrealistic way to build a fiction because, like, there's no way of predicting things like a complete removal of a natural resource. Like, let's say the fact that tin just suddenly disappeared and caused the Bronze Age to collapse. Because that was a huge element of the Bronze Age collapse, was the fact that the people who brought tin in suddenly stopped bringing tin in, and all of a sudden your shitty ass copper can't be made into bronze.
Yeah.
So now all of a sudden your tools are falling apart. There are other factors, and nobody's 100% sure, but about the Bronze Age, but shit like that is something that like is just a wild, insane outside force that absolutely shifted the way that humanity's history built. And if you're starting from zero and working your way forward, weird shit like that is something that's kind of hard to play with. But I absolutely can play backwards and do that. Like, okay. At one point, the high elves ruled the world. What happened? I'm like, okay, they ran into the dwarves, and it turns out dwarves are highly resistant to aggressive magic. So they ran into somebody who was able to just on a
Resist their best trick.
yeah, and it just completely at random without any kind of prediction. They're like, oh shit, they can't use our magic, but guess what? Dwarven steel absolutely works on elven flesh.
Reminds me of a joke that actually kind of is relevant to this.
Mm-hmm.
There's orcs and elves try to get together. It's like after 1,000 years, we've decided to hold a ceasefire because none of us can remember why the war even started. So we've put our two groups of scholars together to try to work backwards and figure this out. And they went through event after event after event that were just retaliation after retaliation. And it kept going back until eventually it turned out that like close to 1,000 years ago, an elf queen refused to go to a orca high chief's birthday party because the orc chief at one point played a prank on the elven queen to make it seem like she broke wind.
Oh.
And so over a prank, this evolved event into 1,000-year war between the orcs and the elves. It's like,
and honestly, that's not that far from but yeah, I've kind of said most of what I want to say. I have a kind of a closing thoughts I want to talk about,
yeah.
but I don't know if you got anything you want to add.
Other than just like layers, like onion layers. It's like when you do your world building, it's a bit like it's like that. You flesh it out, you make it. Like,
oh, another thing I want to say is do not be afraid to kill your darlings. You might have this kind of cool concept of like a certain bit of lore or whatever, and the more you play with it, the more you realize it just doesn't fit with anything else. It's okay to let that die.
yeah.
And that's something I universally say just about writing. I believe it's Stephen King who said it. Kill your darlings. It is okay to let things die if they need to die. And I think that is absolutely true. I think that a lot of writers get hung up on certain ideas. And they just it's okay to let that shit die. You know what? You'll probably run a campaign, you'll probably design a fantasy world where that might fit in better. You don't have to even let it die forever. You can just let it die for this particular story or this particular campaign you're running. But yeah, like you said, layers. But the last thing I have to say is, oh man, I forgot. Oh no, I lost it. No. Oh, I remember what it was now. And this is for people who are also players and critics of worlds. lore does not have to make perfect sense. The real world lore is insane. If you wrote a science fiction story about these massive intergalactic empires, and you have these giant, massive intergalactic empires, there's one empire who suddenly expands, just because shows up out of nowhere. They are militarily more and technologically more advanced than anybody else. Culturally, they have a lot of morale. And these other galactic empires, who are all weaker and each of them falling apart, decide to push in on this new superpower and prevent it from the same rights that these other intergalactic empires have. So all of a sudden, there's an assassination attempt on a leader that, due to the issues of intergalactic communication, causes a breakdown in communication and a massive war between these empires that completely ravage the universe, causing every empire to fall. No one would believe it. People would be like, there's no way. But that is just what happened during World War One.
Yeah.
That's just World War One. Like,
it is completely believable.
if you did a 1-to-1 comparison of World War One in your fiction without ever mentioning that it's a 1-to-1 comparison, people would call you on it. People would say that it makes no sense, that it's bullshit.
It's like, well, that is literally what happened in World War One. I basically copied and pasted World War One, so it did make sense because it did happen.
I mean, I would just argue World War One didn't make sense, but that's the thing, is like, even the people who are like critiquing war, like giant world building lores, a lot of things in history just don't make sense. But World War One is absolutely rife with interesting lore.
I love the Franz Ferdinand assassination story because the assassin thought he failed, gave up, went to a sandwich shop.
Because he was just like, I failed. Because like, there was like multiple assassins. Like, his gun didn't go off.
Uh-huh.
Everyone else got arrested.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like, well, that's it. The rebellion's done and over. And it just so happens that they rerouted the caravan in front of the sandwich shop he was sitting at.
And he came out and was like, oh my God.
I have a yep.
It's hilarious. I mean, it's terrible Franz Ferdinand was shot, dead, but it's really funny how that all happened.
I know, it's terrible that band ended up shot and dead. I really... Anyway, yeah. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at, where sometimes I see people like, that doesn't make any sense. I'm like...
The world doesn't.
Yeah, actual real world lore doesn't make any sense. I'm just gonna plug one of my favorite... I'm not gonna say one of my favorite games. One of my games that has one of my favorite lores in it. I'm gonna plug this channel. He's not paying me. It's Texas Tech Talks. Is it right?
Tex Talks Battletech, yeah.
Tex talks about. Go into his Battletech lore. Battletech has some of the most interesting, insane lore that you will ever get into. The Fall of the Star League, the Battle of Tuckett, all these are just insane stories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, other people cover Battletech lore as well. And Tex does occasionally do some flourishes that were not canon until he said so. But he basically fills in a lot of the lot of gaps, and that fits so well that they were like, yeah, that's true.
But anyway, yeah. So like, I plug his channel because when I'm going into BattleTech lore, he's usually my main go-to source for BattleTech lore.
He's a good one. That in Red 50K.
There you go, Red 50K.
He's also another good BattleTech.
He used to do Warhammer stuff.
He did used to.
I can tell by the 50K.
That was his base a long time ago, but now he's pretty much all BattleTech.
I've noticed a lot of people have gone from Warhammer to BattleTech.
Yeah.
One of the things I don't like about Warhammer lore is how much stuff is like, oh, it's chaos that caused this to happen. I'm like, yeah, I'm not a big fan of the inscrutable alien mind that you can't understand is why things got weird.
At least in BattleTech, the reason for most things is politics.
Yeah.
Why did this happen? Oh, politics.
Usually human arrogance, greed, or stupidity, and often a combination of the three.
Yeah.
The whole fall of the Star League came because one petty house person groomed their original Star League's champion and then murdered him right on the spot as a power grab.
Yeah.
Just one guy just yeah, BattleTech has some of the best lore you'll find, I think personally, you'll find. So
it's really good lore.
It's a good place to start if you're looking to like design a world or specifically like a history.
Yeah, it's far, far more than just big stompy robots.
It is far, far more than just...
Although that's what bring a lot of people to the table.
Yeah, because big stompy robots are cool.
Yeah.
You come for the big stompy robots, you stay for the absolute human stupidity. Because there are no intelligent aliens in BattleTech.
Yep.
It's all human. Every stupid thing that happens because of stupid humans.
Yep.
But anyway, that's everything. Yeah, just have fun, stay safe, be cool. Bye.